A legendary and mythological creature, also called a fabulous creature and fabulous beast, is a supernatural animal, generally a hybrid, sometimes part human, whose existence has not or cannot be proved, and that is described in folklore but also in historical accounts before history became a science. Here's the top 14 mythical creatures. Bigfoot is thought to be the missing link between humans and apes. We'd know for sure if only we could find one. The legend of Bigfoot comes from Native American mythology and folklore surrounding European wild man stories. There are people who have dedicated their lives to finding Bigfoot, and there are even photos, like the one shown here, that offer proof of Bigfoot's existence. In fact, Bigfoot has his very own official FBI file, but so far, despite myriad claims from several sources across the U.S., no one has managed to definitively prove that the mighty Sasquatch exists. Medusa is one of the most powerful mythological figures of all time. She had the power to petrify a person with a single glance. According to a Roman version of this myth, Medusa was seduced by Poseidon in a temple of Athena, a sacrilegious act that enraged the Greek goddess of war so much, she turned the mortal Medusa into a hideous beast with snakes for hair. The hero Perseus slays Medusa by cutting off her head. Even after being beheaded, Medusa's visage still had the power to turn men to stone, and so Perseus carried it in a kybaises, a magical sack strong enough to contain its power. The mythical kraken is one of the scariest monsters ever imagined. One of the earliest mentions of the gigantic cephalopod came from Swedish King Sverre of Norway. Some said the creature was so massive, it could eat maritime crews whole and sink ships in an instant. Although descriptions of the beast in folklore vary to some degree, the general consensus is the kraken was likely Archaeoteuthis dux, more commonly known as the giant squid. The Loch Ness Monster. The fabled creature that mankind has been hunting for thousands of years. The Loch Ness Monster is believed to be some kind of plesiosaur that has managed to endure in the Scottish Loch Ness Lake. Although Nessie doesn't have any powers, that we know of, since there is no hard evidence she exists, she's here because of the wonder and fascination she managed to maintain, real or not, all this time, since the first stories about her presence in the Lochway appeared back in 565 AD, in the biography of the Christian Irish missionary Saint Columba. Another name, like Yeti. But no matter what you call it, all the stories tend to be same. Somewhere in the mountains, there exists a bipedal, humanoid creature that leaves behind massive tracks, but has never been seen or caught on film. A small Nepalese village claimed to have a Yeti scalp, pictured here, that's over 300 years old. An analysis, however, showed the scalp had actually been made out of animal hide, but locals still treat it like a treasure nonetheless. The Yeti myth had endured, in part, because of the sensationalism surrounding the mystery of the creature's existence, but also thanks to locals who keep the stories alive. The world's most famous vampire is undoubtedly Bram Stoker's Dracula, who Stoker reportedly modeled after Romanian Prince Vlad Tepes, more popularly known as Vlad the Impaler, pictured. While most people can name a few vampiric characteristics, there are actually no set parameters for what a vampire can and can't do, because there are no firmly established characteristics, according to live science. The vampires we're familiar with today are the ones that tend to be glamorous. They're rich and good-looking, but still have to suck blood to survive. Zombies have instilled terror in our hearts ever since they hit the screen in classic flicks like Night of the Living Dead. However, these creatures have been terrorizing Haitian culture for far longer than a few decades worth of films and shows. The ancient Greeks seemed to fear an uprising of the dead as they buried people with stones on top of their bodies in order to prevent them from leaving their graves. In the 17th century, slaves on sugarcane plantations worked under grueling conditions, and necromancy, an undead afterlife, represented the horrific plight of slavery, says history. In the Voodoo religion, there are also bokers, or practitioners who have the power to reanimate the dead. The Jersey Devil haunts New Jersey's Pine Barrens and has reportedly been around. This creature is grotesque in appearance, as you can see in the depiction, having a horse-like head with some kind of horn protrusions, and walks on its two hind legs which end in cloven hooves. Some versions of the Jersey Devil myth say the creature was born to one of Daniel Leeds's wives, who was a witch. Shortly after the beast was born, it sprouted wings, let out a screeching yell, and flew off into the night. Sirens are another mythological species that have found a home in modern times. There are movies and TV shows about the seductresses with beautiful and enchanted singing voices who draw sailors to their deaths. Sirens are also mentioned in Homer's Odyssey, where Odysseus famously had his crew tie him to the mast of the ship because he wanted to hear the siren song. Odysseus was cautious and had his crew fill their ears with wax so they'd be unaffected by the sound. And it worked. The werewolf myth is so prevalent across multiple cultures that it's hard to pinpoint exactly where it originated. Werewolves have had their stories told millions of times over, with each iteration giving the creatures a different power, a different reason to shift from a human into a beast, and providing humans with different methods of killing them, although a silver bullet usually seems to be the way to go. Some reports say the basilisk originated in Italian lore, while others say it was born from Greek mythology. According to lore, the basilisk had the power to kill people with a single glance, similar to Medusa, although the two are not interchangeable. The creature emerged from a rooster's egg after being incubated by a toad and had the power to wither landscapes with its breath, according to the Smithsonian. The basilisk has been around for a long time, with the earliest written reports dating back to a mention in Pliny the Elder's Natural History in 79 AD. The basilisk was often referred to as the king of serpents and has been described in varying detail as being a mix of snake and rooster. The Minotaur, whose birth name was Astraeon, is another fabled creature from Greek mythology. The man-bull hybrid was the product of an affair between Queen Pasiphae and a bull, hence its weird anatomy. In order to keep the Minotaur and his ravenous hunger for humans locked away, Daedalus and his son Icarus, the one who flew too close to the sun, built a maze to contain it at the behest of King Minos, Pasiphae's husband. To sate the Minotaur's appetite and keep him within the confines of the maze, the creature was offered human sacrifices. The Minotaur, who is said to have grown into a monstrous, evil beast, lived in the maze until the hero, Theseus, killed it. The mythological chimera is a terrifying creature that features a fire-breathing lion's head attached to a goat's body, ending in a serpent tail. There are varying versions of what a chimera actually looks like, with some iterations giving the creature 3 heads: a lion, a goat, and a dragon, among other interesting interpretations. According to Greek mythology, the chimera is the offspring of the monster Typhoeus and his partner, Echidna, who was half woman and half snake. In scientific terms, a chimera is an organism with two or more genotypes. A fetus that has absorbed a deceased twin, for instance, is a chimera. Some believe the chimera is actually a personification of Mt Chimera, a long-gone mountain that was always on fire, in Turkey. Live Science reports that huge, flying serpents were described at least as early as the age of the ancient Greeks and Sumerians, and says interpretations are varied across cultures. In some parts of the world, such as China, dragons were revered or viewed as gods, and in others, they were feared, especially after Christianity became widespread, since many people associated them with Satan or Leviathan. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos.